Jason. Grab that this morning for some reason.
You tell them what we have.
Gaggle of kiddos this
So it's
morning.
been a good little minute. So
When he turns it up, I think you should break it.
any button.
Left or right button, right?
I like it. I like it. Exactly. Good morning. You'll have to bear with me as I will probably be clicking you a couple times, wondering why the screen's not moving. I have to get used to this. I don't know if y'all saw a moment ago, we had a little bit of a miscommunication when it came to how many songs they were going to play. I spoke to Joe and I said, all right, is it right after the offering? Do we have another song? He said, one more song. So the song's ending. I'm like, okay. And then they started another song, and I was like that little toddler in the GIF that circulates online, where he's running around the corner, makes that face, and then starts backpedaling. My favorite one. So, yeah, that was me for a moment, because as much as I like to joke, and I love working with the kids, when it's my time to be up here and speak God's word, I think just like any other pastor, no matter how long I've done it, you get the butterflies in the stomach because you are speaking for God. And I've seen God do some great stuff to some people that did obey. So I want to make sure that what I'm doing aligns. So last week, I believe Pastor Joe was preaching about some things getting lost. A lost coin, a lost sheep, and y'all probably don't know, that was mine. Okay? I hand-picked that one. Actually, I was told you can do this one or this one. And then Pastor Al picked before I did, so it seemed like it was predestined. And then some things happened, involved family members showing up, coronavirus showing up again. February is my COVID month, by the way. Don't hang out with me then. Maybe late January either. So it just worked out where I didn't do that one. I'm going to be talking about the lost son or the prodigal son. Before we get started with that, my man in the back, Essential Chuck, can we do that video? And if you say no, we can still be friends. Either way. So, I'm telling you right now, I'm going through the Bible verses, so if you missed the video, I'm going to cover it. But I'm going to be very honest with you. The main reason I decided to do the video is because that's from a Saddleback church, and I use those with the kids, and I've used them up here before, and one of my favorite things is they introduce Jesus. They say, and this is Jesus. And he says, "Heyo!" And, and when he's calming the storm, the sound effects are great. He says, "Shush, shush, shush, shush." So me, as almost 43 years old, I think I enjoy these videos and the effects more than the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds that I show them to. So that was for me. We're talking about the lost son, but I want to talk about the roadmap, how we got there. And because the sinful side of me feels like Pastor Joe stole my sermon, we're going to do a review because, quite honestly, I'm a teacher. And kids are always saying, "But Mr. Lowe, we did this yesterday." We did. And we did it the day before. And your teacher last year did it with you. I know this because I had you last year. And you still don't know it. So there's nothing wrong with the review. But we're going to be focusing on Luke chapter 15, starting in verse 3. But how did we get there? We have Luke 13:10 through 17, Luke 13 through 22, Luke 14:1 through 6, Luke 14:25, and Luke 15:1. That just sets us up, gets us ready. Luke 13:10 through 17. It says, as he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, a woman was there who had been disabled by a spirit for over 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called out to her, "Woman!" That's my Jesus woman voice there. "Woman, you are free of your disability." Then he laid his hands on her, and instantly she was restored and began to glorify God. It should end there. Praise God. Hallelujah. Someone's been healed. Someone's been restored. But, no. The leader of the synagogue, indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, responded by telling the crowd, there are 6 days when work should be done. Therefore, come on those days and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day. Darren, you're a nurse, correct?
I am.
You work in the medical field.
I do.
How would that work out if one day a week you said, nah,
I
no.
don't think I would cross my mind.
Now, I know in the nursing world, you're like up here, but I'm assuming you started a little down here. Did you ever have to change bedpans?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever say, it's kind of full, but
No.
this is not one of those 6 days. Yeah. So, it just doesn't work. There are some priorities, some things that are going to need to be done on the Sabbath or the seventh day. And Jesus, he answers and says, hypocrites! Doesn't each one of you untie his ox or donkey from the feeding trough on the Sabbath and lead it to water? Satan has bound this woman, a daughter of Abraham, for 18 years. Should she be untied? My dyslexia, sorry. Should she be untied from this bondage on the Sabbath day? When he had said these things, all his adversaries were humiliated. But the whole crowd was rejoicing over all the glorious things he was doing. Now, when I read that part about them rejoicing, I see them rejoicing about, oh yes, someone's healed. But then I think about me and my sinful nature. I'm probably one of the people rejoicing, going, oh, he told you, Pharisee, get him, Jesus, get him. I like when the Pharisees are put in their place. Now, quick recap. There was a healing on the Sabbath. The Pharisees questioned it. Jesus claps back at them. And the Pharisees were humiliated. That's in a nutshell. Then we take Luke chapter 13, verse 22. Jesus, being Jesus, went through one town and village after another, teaching and making his way to Jerusalem. You know, nothing to see here. Again, just Jesus being Jesus. He did not stop when he was confronted by the Pharisees. In Luke 14, 1 through 6, again, one Sabbath. Man, they're really big on the Sabbath. When he went to eat at the house of one of the leading Pharisees, they were watching him closely. There in front of him was a man whose body was swollen with fluid. In response, Jesus asked the law experts and the Pharisees, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not? But they kept silent. Good move, Pharisees. Good move. He took the man, healed him, and sent him away. And to them he said, which of you whose son or ox falls into a well will not immediately pull him out on the Sabbath day? They could find no answer to these things. There was an answer, but they did not want to admit what the answer was, because that would show their sinful nature, their sinful heart, their priority. Their priority was themselves being right and lifting themselves up and exhorting themselves up above everyone else. They wanted to be exalted. That's what they wanted. So, recap. Dining with the ruler of the Pharisees. They were watching him closely. Again, the healing on the Sabbath controversy. And, it says the, but they were quiet after his response. Spell catch doesn't catch it when it's a correctly spelled word, but it's the wrong word. So we should do something about that. Luke 14:25, great crowds accompanied him. And that's the problem. Because Jesus is going against the Pharisees. They're, is this a real word? Pharisaical. I'm going with that. With their pharisaical way of thinking, their me first, I'm better than everyone else, I deserve this and no one else attitude. And now the crowds are growing. Jesus is becoming popular. And he's the hero of the underdogs. And they're following him. And it says, now great crowds were traveling with him. So he turned and said to them, look, he said a bunch of stuff. But we're going to keep going because I already have 30 slides. Sorry about that. But once we hit Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 2, this is where we start to get a little heated. All the tax collectors and sinners were approaching to listen to him. And the Pharisees and scribes were complaining, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Jesus had had enough at that point. And as I was preparing for this and I was reading and I was looking at other sermons and I was watching videos, I came across Bodhi Baucham, who love Bodhi Baucham because he preaches with a little attitude. I like to call it spiritual attitude. And he's just, the way he says it, he pictures Jesus saying, let me tell you a story. No. Go ahead and be mad. You can stay mad. Let me tell you a story. So, let me tell you a story. But let's talk about the context. The context of the three parables. And I say three parables because they're the same story, but the last one, has a little hot sauce on it. All right? Makes it a little spicier, a little plot twist. But the context of these three parables is that the Pharisees do not like Jesus associating with sinners too. And I put two in there in parentheses because they feel they're the ones worthy. And now they're kind of put as equals with the sinners and tax collectors, and they don't like that. And again, I told you I'm a teacher, so here it comes. Elementary. This reminds me of the story by Dr. Seuss, The Sneetches. You had these yellow creatures with some green stars on their bellies. They thought they were it. They thought they were the best out there because they had a star on their belly. They made fun of the ones without the stars on the belly. It was kind of like a Rudolph type thing where they didn't let them join in their Sneetch games. And then a con artist shows up and he's able to print green stars on the no star Sneetches. And now they all look alike. But the original Starbelly Sneetches are mad, so then they get conned, and then they have to. It just goes back and forth until they all reconcile. And I don't even know if there's any stars left at that point, or everybody has, I don't know, maybe they have like the prison tattoo, they have a star here or on their, I don't remember. But the whole idea is they wanted to lift themselves up in importance over the others, and that's what we see with the Pharisees. They see the sinners as lower class and not important. The Pharisees obviously think a lot of themselves. Jesus takes 3 full parables to get the point across to the Pharisees. They all have the same meaning, but you must understand the first 2 to get the last one. The lost sheep. I know Pastor Joe did the lost sheep and he did the lost coin, but there's a chance that you were ordering something from Amazon. You were checking your Facebook status. Who knows? Maybe you weren't paying attention because you were texting me asking if I was really sick or if I was just skipping church. I don't know. No, I do know I was sick. But the lost sheep. So he told them this parable. What man among you who has 100 sheep and loses one of them does not leave the 99 in the open field and go after the lost one until he finds it? When he has found it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders. And coming home, he calls his friends and neighbors together, saying to them, rejoice with me because I have found my lost sheep. I tell you the same way there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who don't need repentance. We're focusing on the need. Here's the recap. You have 100 lost sheep. You lose one. You leave 99 to look for it. So, again, teacher, I do math. That's 1%. So you find it. What happens when you find it? You call your friends. You pick up the phone, you go, what's that? Your friends are happy to hear from you. Thank you, Chad, I appreciate it.
90s friends.
I just told you, this Wednesday I'm 43, okay? So those are some of the greatest commercials I've ever seen. But so you call your friends one more time, for those at home that didn't get to hear it. What's that? Thank you, thank you. So you call your friends and you tell them the good news. If they're excited, you celebrate regaining the lost 1%. You're throwing a bit of a party. Hopefully it's not like a party where you now have to slaughter one of your sheep and serve it. I'm hoping there's like takeout or something because you were so excited that you got that sheep back. But that's the recap there. Something was lost, now it's found. We should celebrate. We should be happy. Fortunately, I don't think sheep are very smart, and I don't think there was a contingent of sheep or a clique of sheep saying, Marty got lost again. Can you believe that? Give me a biblical name real quick.
Bob.
SpongeBob? Okay. Can you believe that? I don't know about that one. Let's go with Nathaniel. I like Nathaniel. Can you believe Nathaniel left us to go find him? Please. We have much better fleece than him. No, fortunately, that didn't happen. But you know what? We're a lot smarter. We have these fully developed brains where we can sin, and we can complain, and we can grumble. Fortunately, coins don't talk at all. But then we had the lost coin. And Jesus says, or what woman who has 10 silver coins, if she loses one coin, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? When she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together, saying, rejoice with me, because I have found the silver coin I lost. I tell you, in the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels over one sinner who repents. Now, let me pull out my graphic organizer, my Venn diagram, and compare and contrast those two parables. But let's look at the similarity right there. At the end, we are supposed to celebrate and find joy over one sinner who repents. And repenting is acknowledging the sin, turning away from that, and starting new. The recap, and yes, it's coming again. You have 10 coins, you lose one, you leave the 9 to look for it, you find it. I'm going to be very honest with you. I grew up, I don't want to say I'm greedy, but I'm very, very aware of money. Because I grew up in a pretty poor family, and that's just the way it was. So I do pay attention to where the money's going. So this one really resonated with me, because guess what? I've never had a bunch of sheep. Now, if I had a bunch of sheep and I lost one, I might act the same way. Like, where's my sheep? But I haven't had sheep, folks. I've had coins. Unfortunately, as a teacher, my financial status has not improved that much since being a child. So I do not have dollar bills. I mostly have coins. So if I were to lose one of my 10 coins, and really when we talk about 10 coins, I feel like for me we're rounding to the nearest 10. But in this situation, there were exactly 10 coins. You lose one, you leave the 9 to look for it. I leave them with a trusted friend or the bank, to be honest with you. But I go look for that last coin. I find it. What do? I call my friends. What's that? So I call my friends and say, I found the coin, I found the coin. Now, I call some of my friends, because I feel like some of my friends aren't very good friends. They're like, oh, you got money now? Where are we going? Let's go to the Sizzler. No. I only have 10 coins. But you celebrate regaining the lost 10%. Now, each story is going up a little bit. First, there was 1% of your belongings. And you celebrated. Well, now it's 10%. So definitely you're celebrating it now. You're definitely calling up your friends and reenacting a 90s beer commercial. And then throwing a party. But, you know, I want to be careful when I say party. It's usually going to involve some board games and some like a 0-calorie soda flavored with stevia or something like that. That's my party. Again, I told you I'm almost 43. That's how we do it. Now the lost son, and this is so much more important, so I put it in smaller print so you can't read it, or myself. But he also said, a man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the estate I have coming to me. So he distributed the assets to them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered together all he had and traveled to a distant country where he squandered his estate in foolish living. This is a horrible son. I want you to understand that. Okay? Jesus is a master storyteller. And we're going to assume with parables, there's stories that he's telling. They may not be factual retellings of something that happened, but Jesus was doing then what people like Pastor Joe and myself do now. We tell stories, we illustrate it so you can understand. The difference is, Pastor Joe and I, we use a lot more pop culture and superheroes than Jesus did. But that's just because the times have changed. We want to go with what's relevant. But, man, this was a bad dude. He was greedy. He was disrespectful. He was impatient. And that's the way Jesus paints the picture here. So you know, not a good dude. How are you going to go up to your dad and ask him for half of his assets before he is dead? How did that conversation go on? Hey, Pops, what's up? Did you take your blood pressure today? How's the insulin going? You don't look too good. Look, it's inevitable. Just give me the stuff now because you don't have a lot of time. I got stuff to do. How does that conversation go on? Now, here's a little warning for y'all. I'm looking in the back, and I'm seeing a majority of the teens in the back. Mammal family. I've got your son back there kind of grinning and smirking and shaking his head. I look around. I kind of saw the same thing with my son. But my son, he's like, I know you don't have any money. Exactly. I'm like, Jacob, I've got like $5 and a gift card for like Krispy Kreme. I mean, that's what I have. You can have it. The only reason I have the gift card for Krispy Kreme is because the nearest Krispy Kreme is in Tampa and I don't have gas money to get there. So that's why I have it. If we could do like Uber Eats or get them Amazon over to me, that would be a lot better. But this kid, so presumptuous, it's going to be mine anyway. Give me what I deserve. Oh, okay, I got what you deserve. Then we come to verse 14. He's still lost. After he had spent everything, a severe famine struck that country, and he had nothing. Then he went to work for one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. He longed to eat his fill from the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one would give him anything. I do want to point out that where the story takes place, this guy, he's Jewish. They're not partaking of the pork. There are no fun at barbecues. Okay, it's like the vegan family that I invite over to a cookout. I know they're vegan, and all I have is pulled pork, sliced pork, bacon, and a nice pork sausage, and some sides like green beans, collard greens, black eyed peas, all flavored with some ham hock, because that's how you do it. So that's the way it was there, but there he was. He had dishonored his father, left his protection, he squandered everything. He's pretty much a slave, having to feed animals that he's not supposed to touch as a Jew. He had nothing. But again, verse 16, he longed to eat his fill from the pods that the pigs were eating. But no one would give him anything. Now, the way I see it is, I kind of picture this as a buffet. If you're ever at a Golden Corral or a Chinese buffet, and you're in between people that you normally wouldn't be hanging out with, you don't know them, and you're trying to grab the sweet and sour chicken or the infamous meat on a stick. and we call it meat on a stick because we know it came from some animal, and we know it's on a stick. For some reason, it's this peculiar shade of red. But it's so good. I don't care. It's good. And you're reaching in, you're bumping elbows with everybody. You have this kid who left the protection, and now he's with a bunch of pigs, and he just wants to get in between them and eat what they're eating. And I'm assuming they're not on a kosher diet. I'm assuming it's just whatever is there. And by the way, pigs eat anything, including each other, bones. So we see he was at that point where he had nothing, and he just, all culture, all tradition, everything that had been instilled into him was gone because he just wants to survive. Verse 17, when he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food? And here I am dying of hunger. I'll get up, go to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against you. I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired workers.'" I saw some that we see he has that change of heart. But now he gets it. Why does it take tragedy and other trials to wake us up? I'll tell you why. Because when we realize we can't do it on our own, then we're forced to be dependent on God. When everything's fine, we think we have everything we need, unfortunately, our sinful nature says, you've got this. Look at everything that you have done for yourself. You do not need God. And it might not be a deliberate conversation, but I'm sure it's at least something in the back of your head that starts kind of molding you and taking your reliance off God and putting it on yourself. And it seems like everything's okay. It's like a song on a commercial or a song that you really don't care for on the radio, but someone played it and you heard it and it's in the back of your head and you don't like it, but then on accident you'll be doing something and you mindlessly start singing the song and it's gut-wrenching. And then you realize you're singing the lyrics to Blue by Eiffel 65. Or exactly, or Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, or the lyrics from the gum commercial in Inside Out, right? Something like that. So it eventually happens, and then it becomes a part of you. But so then you need to be woken up, whether it be a splash of cold water in the face, or you squandering everything and now you're eating the pigs. One or the other, I think they're pretty much the same. Repentance. So he got up and went to his father, but while the son was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. I just want to point out, this is a parable. Okay? And we're talking about the Father's love. We're talking about God who always forgives. I'm not God. And I want to say I'm very forgiving. But God is so much more forgiving than I am. Because I'm going to be happy that my son or lost one is returning. But in the back of my head, like, oh great, another mouth to feed, because he already blew half of what I had. Man, I wonder if I can get like food stamps or something. I don't know. I need some sort of assistance because this fool blew half of what I had and now he's moving back in. By the way, Jacob, this is nothing to do with you, but you are my son, so everybody kind of looks at you. But here, I just want to point out, this is not about me. And I know in the long run, I would be very happy I would be very happy. I would find a way to make it work, by relying on God, of course. But right here, this is a perfect image of God. His Father is not holding on to the bad decision making. The Son admits that he was wrong. The Father takes him back. The truth is, he never really let go of him. But I want to point out, the Father allowed it to happen. The Father let him take half, go out, do what he was going to do. Because keep in mind, the sin was already there. The desire to go do this was already there. But for the Father to allow it to happen so he can come down just to be brought back up, that's what happened right there. The reconciliation. But the Father told his servants, quick, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then bring the fattened calf and slaughter it. And let's celebrate with a feast, because this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate. So basically what he did was he picked up the phone, called the servants, got the fattest calf they had, and they were ready to celebrate. The Father was excited. His Son had come back. There was reunification. Okay? They were whole again. He told everyone the good news, and they partied. This was a happy Father. He did not care about what happened earlier. And I want to point out that our lives are filled with sin. There are some things that when we think about what we've done or what we've been involved in, we're embarrassed. We don't want to talk about it. It's very uncomfortable. But when you become a believer, when you are in God's family, God takes care of it. Right? It's not something that's going to be thrown back in your face. And we see the same thing with the Father. He's not thinking about the bad decisions. He's very happy for that reunification, to be reconciled. Their family is complete again. So, lost son recap. You have two sons. You lose one. You leave the one to look for him. Now, let's see how many mathematicians I have in the audience here, in the crowd, in the congregation. We started off with a loss of 1%, then a loss of 10%. Chadwick, can you please tell me how much is 50%? All right. But Chad has vision problems, okay? So he didn't even see that. See, his glasses are off now. But yeah, 50%. So each parable is a little higher. The value is greater. So you leave the one to look for him. You find him. You call your friends. And I got to believe, since it's 50%, it's not a what's up. It's like a what's up. We're going to party. I found my son. It's going to be lit. You know, saying all those things that people that are not 43 say. But unless you're doing a sermon, let me say them. But you celebrate regaining the lost 50%. But here's the issue that we have. The fun police. The fun police never know their jurisdiction, and they always show up when they don't need to be there. People have the ability to use their fully developed brains, or sometimes not so fully developed brains, and sin. We didn't really have to worry about it with the sheep. The sheep weren't arguing about who was lost. The coins, really, coins couldn't argue either. They don't have mouths, except like the engraved or the picture of like a president or something like that. I don't know. But they don't speak. So even if they could think, which they can't talk about it. But we have the fun police. The older son was in the field. As he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he summoned one of the servants, questioning what these things meant. Your brother is here, he told him, and your father has slaughtered the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound. Now this is where the brother should be rejoicing, just like everyone else. And I don't care. You can call me up for any celebration, say, hey Jason, the brisket's almost done. Hey Jason, the ribs are ready. Hey Jason, the cheap frozen hamburger patties we got from Aldi, they're on the grill. I'm still there. Let's celebrate. But this was so much better because it was a soul, a life, an actual person that they're related to. It should be something to make us so happy. But he is not. He is not happy. And you know what? Probably good. There's no textual evidence here, but I'm just going to assume the guy's vegetarian. I mean, he asked me why else would he not be happy about this? I don't know. And I'm not giving vegetarians a hard time. I eat vegetables too. Where's my fattened calf? Oh, right here. I guess he's not vegetarian. Then he became angry and didn't want to go in. So his father came out and pleaded with him. But he replied to his father, look, I've been slaving. How you been doing your chores, man? You've been doing your chores. Exactly. So you've been doing your chores. You've been doing what's expected of you. But he says, look, I've been slaving many years for you, and I have never disobeyed your orders. By the way, I also don't believe that. Yet you never gave me a goat so that I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, not my brother, but this son of yours, kind of like parents, you know you do this. We need to talk about your daughter. We need to talk about your son. Just want to point out, both our names are on the birth certificate, okay? So it's a joint venture here. So we do when we're not exactly pleased, when we want to blame someone else. So, this son of yours, but when this son of yours came, who has devoured your assets with prostitutes, you slaughtered the fattened calf for him. This fool stayed outside and pounded. All right? It was like a fellowship meal at church. You know, people were lining up for seconds and thirds, trying to get the good stuff. He's missing out. He's going to have to do the drive-thru later, so he's going to be mad later. But right now, he just wants to stick out his bottom lip. Woe is me. This isn't fair. Where's my fattened calf? I don't even get a goat. His brother was thought to be dead and came back. And he wants to know why he didn't get a goat. So he says, you didn't give me a fattened calf. I'm the good son. I'm better than him. You make me sad. This kid's soft. I don't know. And his priorities are lost and found. Son, he said to him, you were always with me. You're always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. So he explains that this is bigger than who was the better son. It is not about who deserves what. He thought he was dead, or we thought he is dead. He was dead. He is not. He is back with us. We are reunited, even though none of us are deserving. That's the thing right there. None of us are deserving. At the very beginning, we pinpointed the bad son as the bad son. Hey, I want half the belongings. I'm going to go live it up. But guess what? The father, he hit the son lottery. Both of his sons are horrible sinners. They are. But that's okay. they both thought they deserved something. I deserve half the inheritance, and I want it now. And then you have the older son who says, obviously, due to the actions that you have been watching, I am the better son. So I deserve the fattened calf and the robe with the ring, and you don't even give me a goat. What about me? Well, plot twist. Jesus told this story to the Pharisees because the Pharisees are the older brother. That's who the older brother represents. They did not see that one coming. I'm sure that they agreed that you look for the lost coin and the lost sheep. But yeah, gotta go find my sheep. Gotta go find my coin. They probably even agreed that you go find a missing person, but I'm sure some of them started putting two and two together and catching the last part of each parable where Jesus is talking about rejoicing over finding a lost soul. Rejoicing over reconciliation. Rejoicing over reunification. So I'm sure a couple of smart Pharisees are like, stop talking. He's doing it again. He got us. Remember in Luke 13 and 14 where we stayed silent? We need to do this again. I'm sure something like that was going through someone's head. Can't prove it. But there it is, the plot twist. The Pharisees are being called out. They're being burned by Jesus. And he's not just saying, hey, you're the bad guy. It's been done before, but they don't listen. And this reminds me of the parable that was told to King David. And King David's like, what? So, someone took that guy's only sheep? Someone that had a lot of sheep? Well, they need to die. Who was it? And there's like, it's you. It's not a sheep, though. It's some dude's wife. Good job there. Oh! I was talking to Pastor Al before I came up here, and I said, I always say, my favorite Jesuses are the Jesus that's flipping over the tables. The Jesus that is burning people in parables. And then I realized, wait a minute. He's usually turning over tables and flipping tables because of me. I'm usually the one being burned in parables. Not my favorite Jesuses anymore. I think our favorite Jesus needs to be the Jesus on the cross dying for our sins. Don't get me wrong. Entertainment aspect, other Jesuses. But I don't like the one being roasted. I don't. But he is a masterful roaster. He is. So there's the plot twist. It wasn't about a coin. No! It wasn't about a sheep. It wasn't about brothers. It was about Pharisees thinking they deserve a place in heaven. They deserve to be around Jesus, and no one else did. But if they were saved, and just misguided, but let's say they felt they had a place in heaven. So why do they need all this teaching now? They're good. Give it to the people that need it. If a house in my neighborhood is on fire, I'm not going to stop the fire truck and say, no, my house is first, but Mr. Lowe, there's no fire in your house. Don't care, I know how much my house is worth, so give me a little douse just in case. Mr. Lowe, that house is burning right now. It's on fire. No, I bought into this community before they did this section. My HOA is higher. My CDD is higher. I deserve this. I'll move the car so you can get to the fire hydrant. No. But that's what the Pharisees were doing. They wanted the attention. They wanted to feel better than everyone else. And they probably truly did not understand salvation and how even tax collectors can benefit from Jesus. They're the ones that need it the most. By the way, if you work for the Pasco County Tax Collector, this is not directed towards you. We're just talking about the reputation of those in biblical times. Plot twist number 2, you're the older brother. Bum, bum, bum. Now, I'm going to be honest. We are the older brother at first, but I wanted to take some of the heat off of me because there's a lot of conviction going on while I was doing this. I'm like, okay, we all know, I just don't want to say it, but we're the older brother. We feel like we're more deserving of God's love than others. We may see somebody that's blatantly sinning, like, oh, I hope he never gets saved, because I can't imagine heaven being heaven if I'm next up that guy. Guess what? Somebody probably said that about us before. And now we've jacked up their heaven. But the truth of the matter is, God has done a change in us. God has done a work in us, and anything that he puts in heaven is going to be perfect because he's made it perfect. So we are looking at it wrong. We always want to see ourselves as the hero. We want to be the protagonist. We want to be Cinderella. But no, guess what? We're the evil stepmother and the ugly stepsisters. We are. We want to be the prodigal son. We want this to be about how we were saved. Oh yes, I remember I was in a dark place and I came back to Christ. I did it on my own. And God accepted me. No. We are doing a disservice to those that need salvation. So we need to get right with God on that aspect. And just remember, we were sinners. We still sin, but we were sinners. God did a work on us, and we need to stand out of the way and let him do a work on others. And stop complaining and asking where our fatty cow is. The all about me attitude. The older brother sees salvation as his reward instead of Christ's reward. That's our problem as well. We put the focus on I. Just like a lot of worship songs that we listen to, they start with I. Here, I come to worship. I. Oh, there was a time I just stopped listening to Christian radio because I got tired of the I. And then I found out what they were playing on 98 Rock was much better, so I came back. I made up my own playlist. But it was hard because I noticed it was a me-centered worship. We're worshiping ourselves. Hey, Bodhi Bhagam had this quote. I'm going to end it here. I know y'all are ready for lunch. I went a little longer, surprise. But he says, the only thing you brought to the party in terms of your salvation was the sin that needed to be forgiven. That's the hot sauce, folks, right there. That's a burn. And I know we're talking about me as well. But I do appreciate a good roast. That right there is something I want to put on my signature in the email. Whenever I send an email, they can look at it and go, oh. It just it resonates with me. But again, we're like the Pharisees. We probably don't always try to be, but it comes out. We're like that older brother. We want what we deserve. Well, you don't really want what you deserve because you deserve hell. You deserve the gnashing of teeth. You deserve total separation of God. When I say you, I am included. That's what we deserve. But God has a plan. God made it possible for us to get off on the next exit. Bypass that. And all we have to do is believe. But a lot of times we want to throw in extra steps. It's that simple, folks. It's that simple. Yet he saved us anyway. Romans 5:8. But God proves his own love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Okay? He died for us while we were still sinners. And remember, we Not the guy over there that's using profanity. Us, we were all sinners. Not the guy that did not use a turn signal yesterday, cut me off and ran a red light, and then I had to wait another cycle. I had stuff to do. It's okay, I realized it was you, and I quickly forgave you. But, and I was a little embarrassed, especially since I was yelling back at you. And forgive the texts, sorry. But we just need to stop putting ourselves up on the pedestal and looking down on others. And guess what? It's hard. I've been doing it for almost 43 years. It's something that takes reminder, and I'd say a lot of time in the Word. So that is that. Now, everybody can go home, and you can see the low opinion that I have of all of you. The low opinion of myself. But it was so much better before this. It was. But I love all of you. God loves all of us. But we need to remember that we don't really want what we deserve. We don't. The brother did not want what he deserved. He wanted what he thought he deserved. We have to stop worshiping ourselves. We have to start worshiping God, put the focus on God, and realize that we are no better than the people around us that seem lost or are lost. I'll close in prayer.